I hear that train a-coming, and it's rolling around the bend. And I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. But that train keeps a-rolling on down to San Antone. When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son, always be a good boy, don't ever play with guns. But I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. When I hear that whistle blowing, I hang my head and cry. Well, I bet there's rich folks eating in their fancy dining car. They're probably drinking coffee and they're smoking big cigars. Well, I knew I had it coming. I knew I can't be free.
Listening to 102.3. Where we playeth nothing but chance, and more chance. This are not thine elder matriarch station.
Hello everyone, welcome on in. Sorry about the quick delay there. There was something not quite working right on my end, so I had to fix that. But yeah, just had to take a second to address something there. So thank you for your patience. How's it going? Welcome on in on this beautiful Tuesday night. It is Tuesday, right? Yeah, it's Tuesday. Sometimes Mondays seem like they take so long that I lose track that it was only the first day of the week. Not the greatest, but I hope y'all are having a good day. But we're gonna dive back in here and start working on our final Wolmendoot miniature here, the Mossling. We've been painting several miniatures from a new line of minis called Wolmendoot, made by a small company here in the Portland, Oregon area for games such as Dolemwood. Specifically, these are really geared for working with that, but they could work for all kinds of different miniatures. Do I do AOS? Yeah, I've got some AOS stuff that we've painted. We did all of Cursed City back in the day. I've got the Dark Water box, so I got to figure out when I want to paint that. But we cover a lot of stuff here, so do both fantasy and hey, Paragon Studios, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for hopping in. What have you been working on lately? I know I pop into your stuff every now and then. Do you have Ogre Maw tribes? I've got some of the. I haven't painted any of them. Whoa, what's the? Do I have an ogre nearby? No. The last ogre I painted was either the hunter model, or the character from Cursed City, the corpse eater character from Cursed City. I think I painted the hunter after him. And if you want a picture of him, he's out in my display case, so I can either get him here in a bit, or or you can check out the Instagram and find them in there. But yeah, I've got an ogre. Great to see you on. Hey, Romans, how are you doing? Welcome on in. Thanks for being here. Let's see. Working on Wolmendoot. Oh, nice mini, but the TD is real. Yeah. Is that the one with the? The giant like jet engine that's kind of like taking off of a ramp from the new set, or am I thinking of someone else? I don't remember if that's Wolmendoot or if that was a different model. Doing great. Now I'm practicing non-metallic metal red armor for the new 11th edition Warhammer 40k. Ooh, that's going to be cool. Are you going to do all your Blood Angels in red non-metallic metal? That will be that will look really impressive, but man, that's going to be a lot of work. That's going to look really cool. Yeah, the new 11th box looks pretty cool. There's just nothing in there that I'm super excited to paint, so I'm not picking it up. I haven't actually played 40k, like actually sat down and played the game since 7th edition. But obviously, like, I paint a lot of Space Marines. I like the 40k minis. I like the 40k world. I'm just not interested in playing the game. Read lots of the books, listen to a lot of the books, play the video games, paint a lot of the minis. Just the larger scale combat game of 40k itself just holds no interest for me anymore. Which is sad because I played it for a long time, relatively speaking. Long time from my perspective. 5th edition all the way to 7th edition, so you know it's a good, what is that, 6 to 9 years. Not as long as some people, for certain, but I just stopped enjoying it. I love the world though. I've never yeah, he's the biker jumping from a rock formation with a big burst out event. Yeah, that's a really, really cool model. Paint antagonist. I don't understand your statement. Do you use Tamiya? Because I'm not using Tamiya. I've used Tamiya in the past, but I'm not using any Tamiya now. Are you asking what paint I'm using, or are you saying that you prefer Tamiya paints? Which is perfectly fine. I've known plenty of people who prefer Tamiya paints. Hey, Michael Paints Minis, how are you doing? I've never played 2, just collected, just love the painting work. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I used to play, but I love the painting. I have been collecting Vostroyan, like the metal Vostroyan models. I picked up a bunch from a friend of mine who wasn't going to be using them, so I picked them up from him so I could give them life. So I'll be painting them up and getting them on bases. And I'm not going to do an 11th edition army for that, but I think I am going to do a small one-page rules army for them, just because it's small. Do you have any Marvel Crisis Protocol minis? I don't. They are very cool minis. I just have zero interest in supers. I don't care about superheroes. Like they do nothing. They're not interesting to me in terms of painting. They're not interesting to me in any way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, there are aesthetically they're very, very cool. They've got some really good sculpts. I just have zero desire to paint them. Except for that one Deadpool mini where he and Bob the Hydra agent were there with a taco truck or a chimichanga truck. That Deadpool, I'd be interested in painting him, but beyond that, it's just not something I'm terribly interested in. But again, I can still appreciate how cool the models are. They are cool. Yeah, that mini is awesome. Like I like Deadpool quite a bit, and I think they captured him quite well in that miniature. And Bob the Hydra agent is really funny. I like that. So I'd be interested in painting them, or at least Deadpool there. But again, I just wasn't interested enough in supers to even buy that kit. And the thing is, like, if you're looking to play the game, yeah, do what you got to do to get everything together and get it on the table. But if you're painting just to paint, and you're painting because you enjoy painting, you shouldn't paint anything you don't feel excited about. Just because it's cool, or just because other people are doing it, or people ask you to, when you're painting for yourself, you're painting for your own happiness, right? So don't compromise that on what the next cool thing is, regardless if it makes other people happy, or if it makes good content or anything like that. You're just gonna poison your source of relaxation and happiness if you compromise that. And so I don't paint what I'm not interested in painting, because this is how I relax. This is not how I pay my bills. This is how this is how I teach, because I enjoy teaching. This is how I encourage people in their beginning portions of their painting hobby. But because this is not what I do for my living, I don't feel the need to paint anything that I don't want to paint. Sir Ham of Bone, this is a mossling from the Wolmendoot line of miniatures, which is a brand new Wolmendoot. So if you WOLMENDOOT, Wolmendoot. It is a new line of miniatures put out by Miniatures by Myconid here in the Portland, Oregon area. And they are specifically designed for RPG games like Dolanwood and other similar games. Because Dolanwood has some unique races in it, as well as do other similar games. Races that the typical D&D minis don't cater to, so he decided he was going to try and fill that gap a bit. These are the first 3 miniatures in that line, and so we're working on the Mossling, which is kind of a dwarven dryad mixture. And this guy's just equipped with a bow and arrow. And he's got lots of pouches. He's kind of made of wood. His skin is wood. He's got bark on him, and then his hair and everything is made of moss and mushrooms. So we're painting him. Here are the other 2 miniatures that we did. The other 2 miniatures that were part of the Wolmendoot line. This is the first one we did. This is a bat guy, and we posed. This is how he was posed, but we gave him a recorder, and we gave him a dancing hand here to make him look like he's dancing and enjoying life. I painted up kind of like a fruit bat, black skin with reddish hair and black eyes, very much like a fruit bat. And he's just out here doing a jig. And then we did a goatkin mage who's got panpipes and his magical staff. And we painted him up like Prepotente from Dungeon Crawler Carl because because it seemed appropriate. He's a goat-kin mage, so like, why not? And I was reading Dungeon Crawler Carl 8 at the time. He is really cute, isn't he, Drew? And now we're working on the Moss Lane dude, which I've been very excited. We're gonna work on the wood. We're gonna work on the leather, and then we're gonna work on the mushrooms covering his body. We'll see. We'll see if he's done by the end of tonight. Saw you painted the goat a few nights ago. Love how the crystal came out. Oh, thank you so much, Hamabone. I appreciate that. The paint gods graced me. My Citadel paints are drying out after years that I found 200 plus Reaper paints free on Marco. Oh, Sir Hamabone, that's awesome. Very cool. Paint gods did indeed bless you. Hey, Cookcrafter, how are you doing? Yeah, it's gonna be pretty darn hot this weekend here in the Portland, Oregon area. It's gonna be almost 100. It's supposed to get up to 96, which I am not looking forward to. I am not a hot weather person by any means. I am a cold weather individual myself. I prefer the cooler climes. So we're gonna get the wooden part of his tankard here done, and this is kind of appropriate because the tankard bit is kind of appropriate. The latest book I've been reading, I'm almost done with the first one, is Brews and Beards. It is an isekai. Oh, a guy from Earth dies, and he is reincarnated on this fantasy world as a dwarf. And he was, in his real life, he was a master brewer, like a certified master brewer on Earth. And he comes to this dwarven, this planet. He gets reincarnated as a dwarf, and he finds out that the dwarves' ancestral brew, their sacred and holy ancestral brew, blows chunks. It's terrible. And so it's been him working his way through and gaining people's confidence to introduce improving beer without pissing too many people off. It's actually been really good. It's been really interesting. Do you use Citadel Primer, or do you have any other recommendations? So Citadel, there's nothing wrong with Citadel Primer, absolutely not. There's Rattle Can Primer is really good. I will either paint my own primer on myself, or I will use my airbrush, and I use either Pro Acryl Primer here, or I also have Army Painter's Air Primer, and this can be shot through an airbrush, or it can be painted on by hand. Those are the ones I use the most often, just because I have an airbrush. There is no need for you to buy an airbrush. I bought one years and years and years ago, so I use it. But Citadel Primer is really good. There are other companies like Color Forge who have really good primers. Army Painter's Primer is pretty good. Although my understanding is Army Painter Primer, it floods a little bit faster, so you need to make sure you're testing it, and it can over prime a miniature and flood all the details fairly easily, so just be careful with that. I've been airbrushing Gaia Notes matte black. I like it a lot. Nice. I haven't tried that. What do you usually use for terrain on bases? So I use a few different things. I use for general ground cover, I use Bear Calvary's My Name is Mud, and this is recycled house paint, if I remember correctly. But the main grit in it is, you need to mix it up every now and then, but the main grit in it is old coffee grounds from one of the coffee shops down in Eugene, Oregon, because that's where Bear Calvary is located. They're down in Eugene, a couple hours south of me. And And if you've seen Ninjon's, any of Ninjon's videos or any of his, he really likes the Bear Calvary stuff. But the reused coffee grounds is, one, it's recyclable. It's kind of sustainable. It's recyclable, but also it has it varies in size, and it's all organic shapes. So when you put it down, it makes rocks and grit and things like that looks a lot more realistic. And then I have just flocking foam that I put down, and then I'll use like clumps of it to make little bushes, and then I've got little tufts of static grass that I add there. Now I build the base and I put the mini on the base and I prime it all together. I don't keep them separate. I don't build the base afterwards. The base has been primed. I'm going to repaint everything on here, so I don't use any of the natural colors that the basing stuff comes on, because I want everything to look painted. Here's what one of those bases looks like after I've painted it, and I think it just fits in better because it looks like it's painted. It doesn't look like I glued a rock to the top of it, or I just glued plain foam. I've painted it. I've added in multiple different colors when I'm painting it, and I just want everything to look like it's all been painted and nothing is just kind of like, I guess what you call just raw. I don't like the look of that personally. But there's other stuff you can use. I've got some Pro Acryl coarse gray earth. If you want to go with just general art supplies, you could just go to your art store and buy golden pumice gel or coarse pumice. Both of those are paint mediums that you can just add in, and they'll have different sizes, and you could just use those as textures. And you'll get a lot more for much cheaper because they don't have any color to them. They're just white, or they'll dry partially clear. So then you just paint them whatever you want. So I've used all of those. I tend to use a mixture of them. I don't just use one product. I'll start out with like the Bear Calvary texture paste, and then if I want a small patch of rocks or something, I'll use some of the coarse pumice gel here, and then maybe some of the fine pumice gel over there if I want like a little pile of sand. And then I'll add in I'll wait for that to dry. I'll use some white glue, and then I'll put down the foam flock, and then anything else, and I'll seal that down. And so I'll build the base, and then I'll attach the mini, and then I'll prime the whole thing, and then I'll start painting. Just getting into painting miniatures. Love the content. Awesome. Thanks, Stofu. Appreciate that. Asked last time about you were hopping off, but I have the 4-foot Reaper pirate ship and need bulk wash. Oh, Sir Ham of Bone, you need bulk wash. There are recipes out there for making your own washes. Generally, what you're gonna want is something to act like the body of the paint. So generally. Matte medium, which is just blank paint without any pigment in it. Some matte medium to give it some body. Then you're going to want probably some type of surfactant, which will break the surface tension of the water and the matte medium and help it flow. So you could use some flow aid. There are other things that you could add in to act as flow aid. You've got a couple different options, but as far as the pigment goes, I would recommend something high concentration, like a dark brown calligraphy ink, because that is going to have a lot of pigment. It's going to have a lot of pigment power, and then you'll be able to alter its concentration in the rest of the mixture you make. But I don't have a ready-made wash recipe that I can point you to, but there are wash recipes out there, and most of them are going to have things like distilled water, which is going to be the most of it. Distilled water, matte medium to give it some to actually give it some binding agent, flow aid to help it flow and break the surface tension, and then some form of high pigmented ink or paint. And that's going to be what is going to make up the bulk of your wash. I want to put a stone tile floor underneath my Dark Angels, but I don't want it to be too thick. Well, Bane, stone tile floor underneath your Dark Angels, but I want it to be too thick. So there are a few different ways that you can do that. Are we talking like fitted tiles? Because, hey, Pikmin, how are you doing? Because there are texture rollers that you can get that are sets of tiles. And let me grab. Where did I put mine? So there are texture rollers like this from companies like Green Stuff World that are acrylic, and they've got different designs on it, and you put out some green stuff or some air dry clay, or even bake dry clay. White Moth Studio, thank you so much. How are you doing? And then you put that down and you roll it over the putty. And then it gives you this texture here. Do I have a good example of that? Yeah, here's part of one. I broke this up a little bit, but you see those designs there in this red clay or this red tile. That's what this was, and then I cut it up to make it look like it's like right next to some broken up tiles and everything. So you could use this. You can also get 3D printed texture rollers off of Etsy, or you can buy the 3D printing files if you've got a printer or someone you know has a printer. You don't necessarily have to buy a texture roller from something like Green Stuff World. This is another one they've got. They've got a huge number of. This is Tau. So this is like if you were doing a Tau kind of thing. This is the result of that texture roller. So I made this display plinth using that texture roller, and then I just painted it. You've got a few different options. Now, personally, Green Stuff World has done some problematic things with certain copyrights that trying to copyright and bully people out of using products that Green Stuff World claims to have made but didn't actually invent. So I have a problem with Green Stuff World, but they're really the only ones who make really high quality acrylic texture rollers. So that's something to consider. But there are 3D printable options as well. There are also just plastic sheets. You can get just styrene sheets that have tile. And it's not going to be, it's just going to be repeating tile pattern. It's not going to be anything fancy or anything like that. It is just going to be your basically your standard bathroom tile or kitchen tile. So you could use that, or you could lay out some putty on your base and then use your hobby blade or something like that to create your own tile patterns. It really depends on how you want to do that. Where's a good place to get a starter set, and what's a good starter set? Are we talking about for painting? If we're talking for painting, then I'm going to point you at Army Painter. The Army Painter's starter set, their painting starter set is really good. Games Workshop starter set is pretty decent. You get a few more minis than you do with the Army Painter one, but you get less paints. So I'll typically default to the Army Painter starter sets. I think they're better for value. And anywhere near, yeah, you can cut up plastic card and glue it to the base too. You could create tiles out of plastic card and just glue those into whatever pattern you want. It really kind of depends on how much effort you want to put into there. But yeah, Pikmin makes a good point. You can be very, very custom and make your own, or you can use something that somebody else has already created. This really is cool stuff. Thanks. Yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff here. So here's some other things that we've worked on, just to give you guys an idea of kind of like other types of miniatures. So this is a Space Marine. If you've played Space Marine 2, you might recognize this type of character. He is part of the Death Watch, which are Space Marines that are specialized in fighting aliens as opposed to chaos. Then we've got... Let's see, we've got Jim Raynor here from StarCraft 2. And for, well, just StarCraft in general. The StarCraft miniatures game just came out recently. And so we painted him up. And we've got Kerrigan waiting on the sidelines here. We're going to paint her soon. We've got Queen of the Zerg here. Kerrigan herself. She's going to be a lot of fun to paint. And then we've got a bunch of fantasy stuff as well. I've got this War Augur that I definitely didn't paint to look like myself in any way, shape, or form. Absolutely not. But he was a lot of fun to paint, regardless of the alleged similarity to me. He was a lot of fun to paint. We've got this guy who's kind of a knight in shining armor, but he's more of an assassin. He's got a bunch of throwing blades, so he's got some magical armor. He was a lot of fun to paint too. I really enjoyed him. Let's see. If you like Warhammer 40,000, we painted this chibi Space Marine here. This is a chibi model the Games Workshop had available for a little while, so I picked him up off of eBay so I could paint him, and I repainted him. But he was a lot of fun to paint. And I'm working on finishing up this Space Marine duck that is a sculpt from Epic Duck Studios. Is Necromunda worth starting out, or is it too deep to jump into? It's intimidating. Yeah, don't worry about it being too late by any means. Can you make two of them kiss on live? Absolutely. Absolutely. Look. Mwah. Mwah. Mwah, 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 mwah. There we go. There's a lot of Necromunda lore. There's a ton of books. And it seems like there's some rumors that Necromunda might be getting a new edition fairly soon. So we'll see what happens with that. If that does happen, I'm hoping all of the books that I've spent lots of money on don't get completely, like, made completely, useless, but you know, we'll find out what happens. But I would recommend, I'd say, if you want to find out more about Necromunda and that kind of stuff, then focus on a lot of the lore channels. I've got a couple videos that I'm getting ready to cover the latest updates to the Necromunda lore of what's happened within the last couple hundred years, because most of the Necromunda lore that we have out happened before the Primaris Marines, before the Cicatrix Maledictum split the galaxy. All of that Necromunda lore existed before that happened. Now they're releasing a campaign that covers the stuff that happened immediately after that, and what is happening in Necromunda right now. They're actually updating the story of Necromunda, so I'll be covering that pretty soon. But yeah, the Necromunda is really cool. It doesn't change too much. It's pretty standard things stay mostly the same for thousands of years within Necromunda. Everybody's kind of in a stalemate. So if you do hop in, you're not going to be missing out on much. You're not going to have to catch up on much. If we're talking about in terms of rules, then I just get the main rule book and stick with that for now. You don't need anything else. If you want to get some of the other stuff, that you could get your favorite houses book, and it'll have some rules updates and some new units and stuff like that for your faction in there. But the main rule book's still going to be your primary source. Now there are also collections of rules online that you can find, and they'll have most of the rules. They won't have the lore and stuff, but they'll have most of the rules, so you could always, make use of that to make it easy for you to play games. But if you want like lore and you want to understand your faction a little bit more, then you're going to want to look at the lore and the like. But don't feel like you have to buy every single book by any means. Don't do that. That's hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of books. How does it play compared to, say, Kill Team? It is much crunchier. I'd say it's more complicated because the rules only... The way combat runs is very different. It is a different set of rules than Kill Team, and I don't know if any new edition is going to change that or make it feel more like Kill Team. I don't know for certain, but I would say there's only a very slight similarity between the rules for Necromunda and the rules for Kill Team. There's stuff like, weapon skill, ballistic skill, movement, wounds, things like that. General moving rules are generally the same, but the shooting rules are very different. Melee rules are very, very different. Those are not the same at all. And I haven't played too much of Kill Team, especially this latest edition, so I can't be a super specific expert on the differences between the two, but I know that there are significant differences in how it plays. Now, it is similar to Kill Team in that you activate a unit, then your opponent activates a model, and then you activate a model. It goes back and forth like that. So that's similar, but the way shooting is done, the way you draw a line of sight, and whether or not something is shootable is very different than Kill Team. Kill Team, you can grab cover pretty easily. In Necromunda, you don't get cover very easily, but it's hard to hit. It's easy to see your opponent, but it's harder to hit them. You don't need a GM for Necromunda. It helps to have an arbitrator if you're doing like a campaign. It helps to have someone who can like arbitrate and make rules calls, but it's not required by any means. You could still do Necromunda just like a pickup game of Kill Team. You just wouldn't do any of the campaign rules. And you just set up, okay, well, our objectives are we need to kill the other team, or we're both fighting over this barrel of water that is the last uncontaminated water in this sector, and we both need it, so we're gonna fight over that. Stuff like that. It's really the vibe of Necromunda is very different than Kill Team, because Kill Team you're doing secret commando missions. In Necromunda you are doing gang warfare and fighting for the supplies to survive another day, or to make sure that your rival gangs don't survive another day. It's a very different vibe. when it comes to the world itself. Yeah, that's okay, McKnight. No worries. No worries. Feel free to ask whatever questions you want. I've been planning a project. The issue is how to take a second edition art style and transfer it to a 3D model. Oh, a 2D art style and transfer it to a 3D model. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that. Look, if you want to see a really good example, is look up comic book style miniatures, and you'll see people who take cues from the heavy ink lining and things like that of comic book inking and coloration, and they put it on 3D. They put it on three-dimensional models. There is some abstraction that has to happen there, because one of the things that gets stuck in my head a lot is when it comes to two-dimensional art, if you give the outline of a figure and you leave one side of that figure in just black, well, our brain fills in what's there because it's supposed to be kind of, assumed that the rest of it's there. Well, you can't do that with miniatures as easily because it's a three-dimensional piece. You can't just make one side of it black and it to read okay. There's always going to be some form of fill light, even if it's a faint off color. So there are going to be some things that you can do in 2D that you simply cannot do in 3D. And there's going to be stuff that you can do in 3D that you can't do in 2D. You do have to accept that is true. But then you can take color palettes and ideas about heavy dark lining to imitate comic book inking, or you can take color palettes from like Frazetta or even like golden age of comics color palettes, and you can still apply those to miniatures. It just might take a little bit of altering your thinking of like, okay, what would this do on every side. A good Vince Venturella just did a video within the last couple of days on 3 different types of Frazetta skin tones and how those are painted. That's a really good video, so that's something you could look up. Also, you can, Pikmin says you could try some Mike Mignola style stuff. Yeah, so like Hellboy, things like that. Just keep in mind those super dark shadows are harder to get to work on a miniature, or those types of styles where maybe it's like Hellboy as a black silhouette against a fairly bright lit background. That's very difficult to do in 3D in a three-dimensional piece. It's very easy to do in comic books because you've got that forced perspective, and that lets you do certain things with light that you can't do very easily with a miniature. So there are going to be some limitations that you either need to think really outside of the box and how to get that to work, or just accept that it's not going to work in the same way. What type of plan did you have? Maybe we can get some more specific recommendations. Let's see. Oh yeah, no, absolutely, Pigman, absolutely. Cookcrafter says, I plan to eventually go through a phase of painting things in style of Legend of Zelda, Wind Waker. Oh, that sounds cool. Why is this not focusing? Like, it's like I get it in focus and then it just kind of drifts out of focus. Some peeps in Japan that are doing cell shading and pencil type appearance. Yeah, that is true. They've got some really, really cool pieces out there. And like those are all doable. You just got to, it takes a little bit of figuring out, okay, how do you accomplish that? because it's not something that you could, that it's certainly not something that I could just sit down and like, oh, I'm just going to do this. Like, that's not how my brain works at all. I'd have to figure out, okay, why does it look like this when I do this? You know, if I do this, how do I get it to, what's significant about this art style that what is it that I want to reproduce in this? What is the effect I want to reproduce, and how do and I'd have to work out how to do it. I wouldn't just be able to sit there like, oh, well, I'm going to do it this way and boom, it's done. Like, that's just not how my brain works. So I'd have to sit down and figure out, okay, how do I get it to do this? Why do I like this style, this appearance? And let's figure out how I can do that. But it's doable. Been some really cool stuff, especially if you're able to do things like force perspective onto a miniature and like limit how people are going to want to look at the miniature. If you can limit the directions in which somebody's going to look at a miniature, either through like positioning of the base, or even physically blocking them, like maybe it's inside of a hangar or something like that, and you block other points of view from easily seeing the piece, then you can rely on more forced perspective, just like framing in a cartoon or a comic. But if you leave it open for people to see from a bunch of different angles, it becomes much more difficult to control that. And not saying it's impossible. It's certainly possible. Like, a lot of things are possible. It's just going to be a lot of work and a lot of planning, and it could very well be worth doing. Yeah, you have to sit down and yeah, you have to sit down and dissect it. Absolutely. Hey, Adventure Girl, how are you doing? Helmets to match the Star Wars Legion Empire painted in Star Wars Rebel TV show style. I'm looking to 3D print slightly larger helmets to match this. Oh, that's cool. That's very cool for EM. That's a nice idea. Yeah, you could absolutely do that. So I would recommend looking into comic book style miniature painting, because that's going to fit that let's see, Rebel TV show. No, so I'm thinking Clone Wars. Rebel TV show. Yeah, okay, so there's nowhere near as much dark lining in Rebels, because it's not, it's three-dimensional. It's a CG show. It's not hand drawn, so they don't have heavy dark lining, heavy ink lines like they would with say early Clone Wars or anything like that. So comic book style is not going to help you there. Cell shading, looking at cell shading, that might help a little bit. But I would look, the main thing I'd look at is what color palettes they use, and focus on that, because something that I'm noticing a lot of these screenshots is light. The intensity of light and shadows are very, 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 very important here. So let's take a look at a couple things. Screen share. So let's take a look at this just as an example. I want this image. Come on, just give me this image. So if you look here, we've got, see how important the lighting is for this. So that does a lot of the volume work that other lining and shading might do. So keep an eye on that. So if we look at a lot of this other stuff, like this, oh, that's tiny. That's not what I wanted. Is this one bigger? No, God. What is going on? I need bigger pictures. Okay, so this might help a little bit. But do you see how important, how lighting and shadows really does a lot of the work of creating the volumes? And it's like, so light, if you want to capture this, you're going to want to make sure you're working in the shading, the heavier shading and lighting, because a lot of these shots are the visual part of this show. There's a lot of very directional light, as opposed to more general lighting that might just light everything very evenly. This is going to be different because they use that directional lighting very strongly. Those are cosplayers. So this is something else that you want to look at when you are deciding, how do I replicate this look that's two-dimensional in 3 dimensions. You look at lighting, you look at the way that they're separating different shapes from one another, you look at palettes and figure out, okay, this is what's significant about this. Because look, like, none of these guys are in full light. None of them are. Half of his face is in shadow, half of his face is in shadow, half of his face, her helmet, it's all in shadow. Directional lighting is incredibly important for all of these things that we've been looking. And I remember watching the show, directional lighting was very important there as well. So deciding on a direction for your light is going to help you reproduce this, because you need to have that directional lighting to get this same vibe, if that makes sense. Now that's still really hard to do in a three-dimensional, in purely three-dimensional painting, as opposed to, you know, I'm sorry, in gaming painting, as opposed to like a competition piece or display. Yeah, environmental effects are very, very heavy. Absolutely. If you look at some of the Borderlands miniatures are painted, that might help. Yes, that is very cell shaded comic book style. Adventure Girl. That's that is. If you want something to look like Clone Wars or something like that, that would be something very specific there. Absolutely. Or if you wanted, I had a guy I knew on Instagram. He did a whole Tau army in Borderlands style, so heavy dark lines, heavy use of single colors, and it looked awesome. So there are different ways to do that, but you do need to think about, okay, what elements make up this kind of unique visual style that I'm trying to replicate. And in the case of Rebels, dark lighting can absolutely be a big part of that, but also that the heavy directional and environmental lighting is going to be pretty significant too. More significant than, say, like this Space Marine that I'm working on here. He's got heavy directional lighting. There's light coming from this direction, and I also have some light coming from up here. Compare him to, say, this guy. All his lighting's coming from directly above, right? Whereas this light's coming from a few different directions. So you can get very different vibes based on the direction of lighting. And as long as you, are trying to keep that in mind, it can really change the visual appearance quite a bit. That's awesome. That's top of my list. New techniques to try when I ever get some free time. Absolutely, it's worth trying. I've painted Gene Stealer cults in comic book style, Skaven in comic book style. Those were the two main ones that I did in comic book style, and it was a blast. It's a lot of work, but it was very, very satisfying. So I'd highly recommend it. definitely encourage anybody to try that out. Just try it out, play, get ideas like 4EM is doing. Like, hey, I want to reproduce the Rebels visual style in miniature. That is a really cool project. It is not necessarily going to be easy, especially when you're just figuring it out. You're going to have to sit there and look at a lot of stuff and say, okay, what is unique about this, as opposed to just like painting it with solid colors. What makes this different? Well, there's a lot of directional lighting. Okay, so I'm going to have to make sure that I know how to shade and how to paint in shadows and things like that. What else do I need to do? And you work through all of that to build up that style and figure out how to paint it. And I think that's a fantastic way to approach learning a new skill or a new way of painting. And the more you do that, the easier it'll be the next time when you encounter something of like, oh, I wanted to make it look like this. Well, I know how to generally do this in the past, so it'll be easier this time. And so you've already got tools to figure out, what do I need to do to learn this, to dissect this. And you'll be a more confident painter because you're like, well, I've figured out how to do this in the past, and it was weird and uncomfortable, but I've done it and I know I can do it again. So trying new things out is nowhere near as crazy and intimidating because I've done weird things in the past and it worked out and I figured it out. So I know I can do that. It's a way of building up confidence. That's why making mistakes is really important. And then not giving up after you've made a mistake. Figure out how to fix your mistake, whether it's repainting or figuring out how to recover and paint back over it or do something else to fix it, because the more mistakes you make and the more times you fix those mistakes and learn how to fix the mistakes, the more confident you're going to be and you're not going to worry about making mistakes anymore because, oh, I know how to fix it. It's not a problem. And I think that's really important too. I know I'm just chattering on here. We've got 18 seconds before we take our first break. So do stick around until we come back. It'll be about a 3 to 5 minute break. We just use that time to go to the bathroom, get some water, check on my cat, make sure she's okay. I encourage you all to stand up, walk around a little bit, take a breather, and we'll be back here in just a few minutes. Pickman says that is in essence how I teach my students how to use reference pics. Yes, exactly. All right, everybody, we will be right back. All right, we are back. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for the welcome back. Appreciate that. Okay. We're going to start working on a couple more of the mushrooms. Some of the mushrooms on the top of his head, I want to make the Mario mushrooms just because. They're not quite the right shape, but they're going to be close enough. And he's got some puffball mushrooms and what I believe are some hen of the forest style mushrooms in a couple spots. So he's got these kind of puffball mushrooms back here. We can give him some other colors too. How's everybody else doing? Anybody working on any new book series that they've found, or anybody have a favorite book series that they want to talk about? If they feel that not enough people are aware of that book series. I go through so many credits on Audible and I check out so many books on Libby. It's not even funny. So if anybody's got anything they want to draw their attention to, I would love to know more about it. I just noticed that there's another patch on his scarf, that I was not aware of. Did not notice that before. So we're going to make that blue. But I have the A-Team stuck in my head. I just literally hummed. Why do I have the A-Team stuck in my head? That is out of left field. Oh well. There we go. A little bit more blue. One little patches of blue here and there to kind of catch the eye. So we got blue for the fletching. I'm gonna have blue for the steel up here. And then we've got some blue on the scarf, the front and back. And it looks like there is a little patch right here that is also going to be blue. Okay, let's get out some metallic steel colors here. Got our blue, black. Um, okay, here we go. So we'll get out some blue, black. This is a very dark bluish black, blackish blue. I use this as a shadow or the main color, main starting color for any non-metallic metal that I'm doing. We're also going to do this as the base color for the mug, the metal portions of the mug. Okay. Oh, this is a fairly small space, so I'm going to make some fairly quick transitions here. Non-metallic metal, regardless of the color, it's contrast, contrast, contrast. That is the thing that makes something look metallic versus non-metallic. Non-metallic's not going to have as strong of a contrast between the shadow and the highlights, whereas metallic surfaces are going to have a pretty strong contrast between the darkest shadow and the brightest highlights, and the transitions from one to the other are going to be fairly quick. And I just completely screwed up this half of the arrowhead because I wasn't controlling my brush very well. Did a bad job there. Here we add some glints, so our reflected light from our main light source. That's really all we need to do, just to give the impression of a metallic surface versus a matte surface. You don't need a whole lot greater than that to sell the idea. If anybody has any questions about Necromunda, Warhammer, painting miniatures in general, feel free to ask. That's what we're here for, to answer questions and hopefully encourage you in your own hobby. If you've got stuff you're curious about or want to get advice or anything like that, feel free to ask. Otherwise, just sit back and enjoy the crackling fire in the background, and hopefully enjoy the vibes. Try to have a nice, relaxing place for people to just chill for a little bit, watch some cool little art being done on tiny little people. Maybe answer a couple questions, and then just enjoy the rest of your evening. That is what we're here for. Thank you all for the likes. Thank you all for the follows, both on all of our different platforms. Appreciate you all being here, spending time, whether you're chatting or whether you're just relaxing. I appreciate you being here. So we got there was some issues with my what's the word I'm looking for? Dilution of the paint. In a couple of these spots, there's just too much paint on my brush or too much water on my brush that over diluted the paint and got it to start running everywhere, so I lost control of it. So I'm going back in with some more diluted of my dark color here, and I'm trying to kind of bring some of that back under control. So it went a little nuts on me. I lost a lot of my mid-tone, so I'm bringing that back under control a little bit, and I'll reestablish my mid-tone in a couple spots that need it. But again, that's just part of painting. You are painting along, and if something weird happens, then you react to it. You do whatever you can to try and prevent something weird from happening, but a lot of painting is reacting to what the paint does and figuring out how to resolve and fix that. If the paint does something weird, you go and you figure out, okay, how do I fix this? That's a huge portion of what painting is. Back in with our mid-tone here. These bolts of lost, they're all entirely highlight. There's no mid-tone to them at all. That's okay. We'll go in and we'll make sure that it's got the right amount of highlight. Just to the very tippy top. Keep the shot. A little better. Thank y'all for the likes. Doesn't get dangerous exposing yourself to so much paint over so many years. Oh, it probably does. But I'm also not putting raw paint in my mouth. What I'm doing is I am rinsing my brush off in my mostly clear paint water, and then I'm putting a tip back on the brush. It's a bad habit. And so I am probably getting small amounts of paint that's still in the bristles there. So it's probably not good for me. But it's not like I'm housing just entire paintbrush loads of raw paint. But over years, it's probably not good for me. I will freely admit that it's a bad habit that I don't recommend anybody pick it up. And I try to be conscious of it, so I break the habit. But I've been doing it for 26 years, so those types of habits are very, very difficult to break because it just becomes a completely automatic thing that I don't even think about. So I have to think a lot more about what I'm doing when I'm cleaning my brush. So not complaining. It's probably a good thing to make sure that I break that habit, but it is very easy to just automatically do it without realizing that I'm doing it after so long. So that's a good question. The habit is so strong I put a mark in my mouth while drying. Yeah, right? Yeah, sometimes the habit's so strong that I don't realize that I just washed my brush off in my soda until I put my brush in my mouth and taste soda instead of just water. And that's a weird thing. It's just like, what on earth? Oh, I washed my brush off in soda. Okay. Marker sounds better. Perhaps worse alternative to keeping a cigarette at least. Yeah. I mean, that's fair. That is fair. Thank you, thank you.
Glug glug thirsty boy.
Thank you, thank you. I don't have any water, so this will have to do for now. Oh, excuse me. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry if that was loud. Alright, got his mug looking all shiny. I need to get some dark umber out so I can do the wooden portion of the mug. Now we do have sound effects you can play in the chat if you're over on the Purple app. They don't cost any money. They're just fun to play every now and then. They just cost runes, which you earn by just watching. So it's just time spent in chat. And you can play all kinds of different sounds. And I'm constantly on the lookout for new things to add. I've got a few different videos that I need to strip the audio from to add as additional sound redeems. So I just like having them there. Even if people don't use them, I'll use them every now and then, so they make me happy. Some people use them, not so that's good. I like that. But they are not there to... Nobody has to mandatorily use them by any means. Just make me happy. Excuse me. Kind of want to just lighten off lighten up the ends of the bow here, just so that it's not all just one color all the way through. Especially since that means that these swirls down here can have some of the darker brown down in the center, or the in between each of the swirls, and the lighter portion of the bow gets displayed as well. And we will be doing a giveaway for these at the end of this, towards the end of this month, probably on the last week or two of this month. So if you're interested in doing a giveaway, make sure you hop over into the Discord, and there is a Wolmendoot giveaway channel, and make sure you put in there that you are interested in being part of the giveaway. I don't have a bot that's going to do that for us, because all of the bots are either you have to pay for them, which I don't know how many giveaways I'm going to do, so I don't want to pay for something right now. Or it only does like giveaways within like an hour or so, and so you have to do that pretty quickly. So I just want to give as many people a chance to get into the Discord and sign up for the giveaway at the end of the month as possible. So we're not doing like short-term giveaway, so none of those bots work for it. So if you're interested in getting a copy of the first 3 Wolmendoot miniatures and all of their different weapon options, and also accessory options like the lute, the panpipe, the recorder, if you're interested in getting any of those, hop on into the Discord and register your interest in the Wolmendoot giveaway channel inside Discord. Gus, the regular guy, hey, thank you so much for the heart. I appreciate that. Hey, Adventure Build Gaming, I am doing well, thank you. How are you? We're just having fun painting up this Wolmendoot miniature for Mike and Ed Minis. I'm having fun painting up this Mossling. He's really cool. He's a fun little guy. It's got, I like painting mushrooms and moss and stuff like that on little people. One of the things that we did back when I was painting some Warhammer Underworlds, there were a bunch of night goblins that had mushrooms all over the place on their models. And so we would have people, I'd ask people for suggestions of what mushrooms to paint them as. And because there were so many, we could get a whole bunch of people suggesting and sending me pictures of different mushrooms, and we'd end up voting on them, or I'd choose my favorites, and we'd paint those mushrooms up on those night goblins like that. And that was a lot of fun. Right on, I'm doing okay, just cruising Twitch. Oh, excellent. Well, thanks for cruising on by. I hope you're doing well. Feel free to chill and here if you want for a little bit. And then when you're ready, feel free to move along, whatever you want to do. We've got a spot here next to the fire here in my study for you. If you want to hang out there for a little bit, we've got a whole archive full of books, because this is a magical library. It's the Great Library of Magic. You can, if you want to check out one of those books, you can type in exclamation point read in the chat, and the library will grab a book off the shelf and give it to you and let you check it out. Or if you want, you can search for your own book by doing exclamation point search and wander through the library on a short little adventure and see if you find a lost tome of your own. And then you can add it to the archive for other people to read. You are welcome to whatever you choose. We're happy you're here. Out of the Bat Guy and Goatkin, they arrived yesterday. Oh, awesome, Gus. Very cool. Thank you for letting me know that. That makes me really happy. That makes me really, really happy. I'm glad. I hope you have a wonderful time painting them. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with them. I'd love for you to show me or show us in the Discord what you've done with them. That makes me overjoyed. Yeah, excellent. I definitely want to see those guys when you're done painting them. And I know the Mossling's probably not everyone's cup of tea. He's a weird little guy because he's a dryad and a dwarf mixed together. Definitely not everybody's cup of tea, but he's one of my favorites. I think that and the Bat Guy, those are my two favorites. But yeah, I think they're both a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to what other miniatures the Wolmendoot line's going to have, because these are just the first 3. He's going to be doing more. Are you dual streaming? Yeah, I'm streaming on a couple different. I'm on YouTube. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Twitch. And over underneath my face cam here on on Twitch, you can see the combined. You should be able to see the combined chat. That's got everybody's chat there. I don't know if it's going to be easy to read or not. Yeah, YouTube doesn't have a whole lot going on at the moment because I don't put anything out on YouTube. I need to start putting like shorts and stuff on YouTube. But it's there. Get a couple people popping in every now and then, which is just fine. I'm on my phone, so it's kind of small. I got you. Yeah, I can't get it to. I can't make it too much bigger without it just completely overtaking everything. So sorry. I am working. There is supposed to be a way. I don't think I have access to this yet, but Twitch is working on doing both horizontal streaming and also a vertical stream setup, so that if you're watching through the Twitch app, then you can switch it to the vertical, and it'll be like narrowed down, and you'll be able to see a lot more. I don't think I'm going to be able to fit the chat in that, just because I do that vertical thing another way for TikTok, and there's no space for another chat. So you'll be able to see, eventually you'll be able to see a clearer stream on your phone that's vertically oriented. And you'll get a lot closer, but yeah, there's not going to be as much room. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to experimenting with that. Okay, let's see. Let's get some Agrax Earthshade here. So these little puffball mushrooms are... they should have a little bit of brown to them. So what we're going to do is we're going to thin down some Agrax Earthshade wash from GW. And we're going to give them a wash, and that'll give them a little bit of brown. And then if I need to make them a little bit whiter again, we can just go back over them with this olive skin tone that I've been using. But we just want to give them a little wash with a little bit of brown. Very thin brown, just to give them a little bit of a brownish color. And then we're also going to take this Agrax Earthshade here, And we're going to hit the ropes over here on the inside of his bracers made of wood. Here, we'll do that here as well, so we get a little bit there. That'll help outline the rope a bit, and we may have to do that a couple times just to get enough of a distinction there, and that's okay. And then I'm gonna give the entire bow a wash with the thinned down Agrax Earthshade, just to give it some more shading, give it a little bit of more organic staining here and there, just to make it look a little bit more organic. And we can always come back in afterwards and clean things up and neaten things up a bit, but we're just going to do this so it's looking a little bit more organic. Same thing with the arrow. I know I'm off screen here, so give me just a second. No, I'm off camera there. We'll give the bracers a little bit of a wash too, just to bring them together visually a little bit more. Cool. Okay. Agrax is a great shade. It really is. It's a good tool. More than you should. It's all right. I'll always recommend that people practice painting without shades too, just so that you learn how to, because you're not always going to have access to a shade, and learning how to manually enter in the shadows and things like that is very important. It's for just learning to paint without, shades and things like that is important. It's very useful, but there's nothing wrong with using them in general. Absolutely not. They are very useful. Same thing with contrast paints. I recommend that you learn how to paint without them as well, because that's going to give you a much better command of light and composition. It's going to give you more control, and then ultimately it just gives you the option to, like, hey, if I want to, I know I don't have to use shades. I can just do this without shades and it'll be fine because I know what I'm doing. And then, then you've got more freedom. You've got more options in the future of, like, what, I don't think a shade's going to work very well here, so I'll just paint this in manually. Or maybe you're going for a certain vibe that a wash isn't going to go with. But if you use washes more than anything else, that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Just don't limit yourself unnecessarily to, I have to have washes. Don't limit yourself. Let yourself learn as well. Even if you ultimately like, yeah, it's not for me. That's okay. If washes are for you, perfect. If they're not for you, perfect. But you should try to learn both. And then go with the one that's going to serve you the best. There's a small blob between the top of the string and the bow, just FYI. Oh, yep. Thank you. Appreciate you watching out for that. Oh, a new anime I started watching was Witch Hat Atelier. It's about a young woman who ends up learning how to be a spellcaster or a witch in this world where witches are very mysterious and they protect how to cast spells very closely. And she discovers it. And then a disaster happens where she ends up having to start learning to be a witch because now she knows the secret, and their only other option would be to erase all of her memories, and you're losing a huge portion of her personality. So she decides, yeah, I'm gonna learn to be a witch because that's what she wanted to begin with. She's always wanted to be a witch in this, and stuff happened where now, unfortunately, due to some sad circumstances, now she has to. But it's been really good. I've enjoyed it. And then I found out that it's a current series, the one that's just now being released. And so I caught up to the most recent episode, and then it said, hey, here's another series for you to use, because the rest of the series hasn't come out yet. It was like, no, curse you! I don't like having to wait. As much as I like Agrax, it does like to stick in places. It does indeed. It does indeed. Right now I'm just using the colors that I typically use for leather. This is actually from Viho Game Colors leather color set. They sell a lot of paints into groups like cold yellows, things like that, but this is their leather set. So the first one is Gorgon Brown, and then Grunge Brown, then Parasite Brown, and then Sunset Orange. And right now we're about to do Parasite Brown on the belt and the belt and the pouches. Hey Saber, how are you? Hello, friend. And so the first two colors I put down are kind of our base coats, kind of our main colors. You can see that down here. And now this Parasite Brown is what I start to put into like high wear areas, like the corners, where flaps are opening and closing all the time, the edges of belts where they flex a lot. Where there's a lot of movement over time. So this is just showing that wear and tear on the leather, making it look well worn, well loved, all of that. And then the last color is the brightest color, and that's going to be actual lasting, a little bit of weathering damage, scratches, things like that. Let's get this in. And now we take our Sunset, get a very little bit of it on the brush. You don't have much. Just a tad here and there. This is to represent actual areas where like the leather's been actually damaged a little bit. These are nicks and scratches, most likely happen on the corners, the places where the pouches have been rubbing up against things or scratched against things the most. And these are very, very small bits. Nothing very major. Tiny little bits. Doing well, thank you. Excellent. Glad to hear that, Saber. Okay, and so now, I want to add a little bit more blue in here, so we're going to make the buttons on his pouches blue. On the bat guy, the buttons were red, mostly because he didn't have as much of a red going on. But I want to make these blue just to keep them a little bit different, but also so they'll pop against the warm tones of the leather. We could have done yellow or green, but those would probably blend in with the moss hair and the scarf a little much. And we take some of our ivory, get it right on the stitching here, right on the stitching for the button. There we go. All right, we got about 5 minutes before our next break. So let's review everything here. So there's still a couple small mushrooms that are more like almost flower shaped. Maybe they're flowers and not mushrooms. So we'll take a look at that. Maybe those might just be flowers, not mushrooms, because they do have a flowery shape to them. They look like petals. Oh, I doubt they're actually mushrooms. There's some moss up here that needs to be painted in a bit. Let's make sure this is nice and round tipped. get his little Mario mushrooms in a decent spot up here. It's kind of hard to make those really kind of roundish spots so consistently, so just gonna try and make individual marks and they'll be good enough. Okay. So now we've got what looks like a flower up here. Looks like a flower over here. I want to take a look. Wolmendoot. How are they painted on some of the other stuff? Yeah, they're painted up kind of like a flower. Okay. We will do the same, although we have a minute before our break, so we're going to go ahead and start the break a little early, and then we'll set this down for now, and we will be back in 3 to 5 minutes. So make sure you stand up, walk around, get some water, say hi to your loved ones, your cat, your fur baby, your dog, whatever. Stand up, walk around, don't just be sitting down the entire time, and then we'll be back and try to finish this up. So we'll see you in 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, that took a little longer than normal. Sorry about that. How's everybody doing? Okay, so in lieu of doing anything else at the moment, we're going to start working on the base. So the way I've been doing the other bases is starting out with some dark umber, some light umber, and some mahogany, just so we got a little bit of warm tones, a variety of warm tones in there. And then we started doing the foliage after, so we'll start out that same way. It's got that started. Now let's go in with our greens. I'm using dark black, green, black. Which one is it? Green, black, or black, green? Black, green. Black, green, camo green, and yellow green. It's three different brightnesses of green in here, so we get a variety and can do our black green as the deepest green here, the farthest down in terms of the base color. So this is kind of the shadow, the underbrush green, and then we'll do the other greens above on top of it. I'm using kind of a tapping motion because this flocking, it doesn't allow you to do regular brush strokes. Its topography is not conducive to regular brush strokes. So we're doing a lot of tapping and smearing around. And we'll also do a few swipes here on the grass. So I even prime over the tufts of grass, the static grass, because just doing a few little swipes with paint will get enough paint on them for them to be colored. Because I want this all to be, look like it's painted. Right? I don't want anything to look raw. I want plain ballast or plain flock to be the primary color on any of this. I want it to all look like it has been painted, so it all kind of visually blends together a little bit more. If you see a miniature that just has raw rocks on it or raw flocking, and you see that and the rest of the mini's painted, you can tell the difference, and sometimes it looks just fine, and for different people's perspectives, for their priorities, it'll work just fine. I just don't like it for mine. I want everything to look like it's painted. It's also one of the reasons why I like non-metallic metal so much, is because it looks like it's painted. But that's just me. Those are my priorities. Those are my points of importance. Those are things I prioritize that nobody else has to. Okay, so let's get dark umber and go into the log he's partially standing on here. I'm just gonna let this all dry here. Hey, Azald, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Thanks for dropping by. What are you up to tonight? Anything big? Anything fun? We're just finishing up this moss lane for the Wolmendoot miniatures. Kind of on the last little leg for him, and we'll be doing a giveaway for him and the other two later this month. And if anybody's interested in participating in that giveaway and potentially getting a copy of all three of the current Wolmendoot models mailed to them from Myconid Miniatures, then there is a giveaway channel inside of our Discord that you can go in and you just say, hey, looking for the giveaway, or just register your interest there, and we'll be doing the giveaway through the Discord at the end of the month. Certainly no purchase required, nothing like that. It's just because we're on multiple different platforms, it's easier to do it all in Discord. So busy, but good. I'm pretty okay. Working on a client's logo design after work hours during dinner. Oh wow, yeah, you're busy. Hopefully you'll be able to give yourself some time. That's important too. But I totally get it. Sometimes you gotta work your butt off. I understand that, but hopefully you have some time for yourself as well. Oh, it's hard. I want to grow my little business, and I don't get free, but then I don't get free time, which is really bad for my mental. So I'm practicing balancing. It's going okay, good. So who's the little dude you're painting? I totally understand that. Growing your own thing on top of working and putting all the hours in, you lose all your free time, right? I totally get that. It's one of the reasons I don't do content creation like full time at all, because I wouldn't have time to do anything else. I'd go crazy. But if it's a dream, then it's worth working towards. To answer your other question, this is a moss lane from Wolmendoot, which is a new line of miniatures made by a guy here in the Portland, Oregon area, specifically for games like Dolanwood or D&D games set in settings like Dolanwood. Dolanwood has its own system and everything, but there are campaign settings for other for other RPGs that Dolanwood or like Dolanwood. Anyway, this is a moss lane. He is, think of a dwarf but mixed with a dryad. So stout, hardy folk whose skin is wood-like, and hair and fur is moss and mushrooms. Happy, cool folk. This guy's armed with a bow and an arrow. And then the other two miniatures that we've painted is this bat guy. And we've just got him dancing a jig with his recorder and a dancing hand there. Painted him up with black skin and reddish hair, kind of like a fruit bat. He doesn't have the snout for a fruit bat, but I love fruit bats, so I wanted to make him look like a fruit bat. So he's happy and dancing. And then we've got this goatkin mage here, and he's got his panpipes here. He's got his mage staff, and we painted him up like to look like Prepotente from Dungeon Crawler Carl. We had a lot of fun with him too. These have all been really, really enjoyable to paint, especially the bat guy for me. I mean, he's just adorable, and he's a pretty unique miniature, a happy little bat guy, not like an evil bat guy. And the goat guy is also awesome. He's not like a beast man like from Warhammer or anything like that. He's not like an evil like a gnoll or anything like that. And then we've got our Mossling, which is just a really unique kind of race, and I've had a lot of fun painting all of these. Thank you. Yeah, we did. I think we did a really good job with the gym. We definitely wanted it to go bright, and kind of wanted it to read like it's glowing, but also like it's very clear. So yeah, I'm pretty darn happy with it. Very happy with all three of these, and you may notice the color palette is kind of muted. We don't have really bright colors. It's because Wolmendoot and the Dolan Woodson is very like dark cottagecore type of feel to a lot of it. These little bat guys are very, very happy-go-lucky. They love to sing and party, so they usually have something bright on them. So we went with a brighter blue scarf there with some red. But everything else we tried to keep a little bit more subdued and cottagecore-esque. That's also why we went with black and kind of a muted red with this guy. We're trying not to do bright fantasy colors. Now this guy, we definitely went with a little bit brighter colors, but everything's still pretty muted except for some of the fall tokens, like some of the leaf tokens he's got on him. So we wanted to lean into the little dark cottagecore look a little bit more. You really achieved it. Very good contrast with the outfit. Makes the gym still look like it's glowing. Excellent work. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
A wizard is never late, Frodo Baggins. Nor is he early. He arrives
precisely when he means to. Hanger Bay Hobbies, welcome on in. Thank you so much for the raid. Tony, how are you doing, sir? How was your stream? What were y'all working on? Welcome on in. Colors are still more like natural cloth. Yes, that's what I want. Because the whole cottagecore look is a lot more natural cloth, not a lot of artificial dyes, lots of more earth tones, things like that. So that's what we were trying to stick with a little bit of happiness here and there, you know. But that's what we were trying to stick closer to, and I think we did an okay job of it. There's still a few more patterns, like there's burgundies and burnt oranges and stuff like that you can work with. A lot of cottagecore color palettes. But we didn't have enough minis to do all of those, so tried to work them in here and there. Sorry, dropped my key. What? Why was your keyboard not on your desk? What? Were you walking around with your keyboard? That seems like an odd thing to do. How's it going? Welcome on in. Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan. I am the Useless Wizard. Welcome to the Great Library of Magic, or specifically my study in the Great Library of Magic, where we hang out, we paint minis, and we talk about all kinds of nerd things. Talk a lot about books and anime as well. I've been catching up on a lot of animes and reading a lot of books lately, but primarily we paint minis and encourage people and answer questions in their questions they have about how to do certain things in miniature painting. And that's what we're here for. We're here to encourage, we're here to educate people in miniature painting if they have questions. We also answer lore questions about Necromunda, Warhammer, stuff like that, to the best of our ability. But mostly we focus on painting and encouraging people on their painting journey. Was working on some Mandalorian models, putting together an LED filled diorama for Gen Con. Ooh, that sounds cool. Tonight was chipping and weathering. Very nice. I don't do a ton of chipping and weathering right now. That's something I definitely need to work on. That's some very cool effects you can do with all of that. Where did my Agrax Earthshade go? There it is. Well, Translator Universalis did not understand Mandalorian. And that's okay. I don't know why it felt the desire to put that huge disclaimer in there, but I'm glad it's got some kind of controls over it. I do have a universal translator bot in the chat, as you can see, so if anybody does come in with without being able to speak English, then they can chat and still I can read their messages. It's both a nice way to enable as many people as possible to be here, but also helps to avoid people who think they might get clever and come in spouting abusive language in another language. It's a way to combat that as well. But primarily, I want people who don't speak English to be able to come in and I understand what they say. We've already had a couple people from, I think we had someone come in from Brazil and say hello. That was very cool. And that was last stream, I believe it was. And so we'll see how well that goes. 3 1/12 scale models on one base, one launching his rocket, one jumping with his backpack, and one using flamethrower. I think I've seen that. Yeah, I think I've seen that. Is that a Shatterpoint? Is that a Shatterpoint model, or is that a separate kit? Bandai. Okay, gotcha. Very cool. I think I've seen something similar for Shatterpoint, but I don't think they were all in the same base. Dude, I've been looking at the Bandai TIE fighters. Man, those are tempting. But they don't have a TIE bomber in the Bandai scale. It's like almost nobody's made a TIE bomber model, and that makes me very sad because TIE bomber is my favorite. But they've got Vader's TIE Interceptor or TIE Advanced. They've got a TIE Interceptor, and they've got the regular TIE Fighter. How much is one miniature? What are we talking about? Are we talking about the Mandalorian ones? No, the first TIE Bomber model is coming out later this year from round 2. Okay, I'll keep an eye out for that, because the TIE Bomber is that's the TIE Fighter variant that I want to build the most, because I have always loved the TIE Bomber. That has always made me happy, especially we get an interesting like semi close up in Empire Strikes Back, but that's it, right? And then every now and then we get a glance of it here and there. And back when I played the original TIE Fighter, I loved running the TIE Bomber with all the concussion missiles or all the proton torpedoes and just whoosh 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 whoosh. Take that, rebel scum! Loved that thing. TIE Interceptor is your favorite? That makes absolute sense. That's the TIE Interceptor is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. That's probably close up to my second. The regular TIE Fighter will always have a place in my heart, but the TIE Interceptor is awesome. But the TIE Bomber, I'm all about the TIE Bomber. Always have been. All right. So for those of you who don't know what we're painting here, this is a Mossling. This is, think of a dwarf mixed with a dryad. They fill that kind of ecological role. Well, they are a stout and hardy people in this setting of Wolmendoot, and it's kind of like wood flesh, but then his fur and hair is moss and mushrooms. And then we also have our bat guy. He was a lot of fun to paint. I think this was my favorite to paint out of all of them so far. And then we also have a goatkin here. And these are all from Miniatures by Myconid. Or Myconid Minis. Depends on how you... They're hardy, not hardly. Hardy. Hardy people. It's robust. But these are all from Miniatures by Myconid as part of a new line that they just put out called Wolmendoot or Wolmendoot. And these are all designed to be used in games like Dolan Wood and other similar settings with different types of fae and animal folk in them. And they're located here in Portland, so they reached out to me. I've met them a couple of times at local conventions here, and they reached out to me, asked if I wanted to paint up some of the models, so they sent me some. We are giving away a set of these with all of the different hand options at the end of this month. If you're interested in that after you check out their website, feel free to drop into the Discord and register your interest in the Wolmendoot giveaway channel. And at the end of the month, we will do a giveaway. We're also doing a community spotlight this Friday. Every Friday, if anybody has anything that's work in progress, they can post that in the Discord in the works in progress or completed projects section. And we go over everything on Fridays and just show off what people have been working on. So we still need to do the flowers. Still got to do the flowers. All right, sir. Got a jet. Have a great night. Have a fantastic rest of your night, Tony. Thanks for being here. And let's see. You didn't see it already. You can check out my TIE Fighter in 134 scale down from round 2 on my Insta. Okay, I will check that out. Yeah, all the Bandai stuff, I think they're all 170 something. I don't know if they're 132. I could be wrong. That's a good scale. They're putting out a TIE Interceptor in the same scale later this year. That sounds cool. That sounds awesome. Oh, let's see. Looking at this. What color do we want these flowers to be? Because I don't want it to distract too much from the face. Now I'm gone. Peace, brother. Take it easy. Bandai is 172nd. Round 2 varies. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Yeah, I think 132nd scale is too big for me. I don't have any place to put it, and also I think I'd just be overwhelmed by something that big. But I definitely want to check that out. Tony makes some really, really cool stuff. I don't want to do orange. So we've got what we got. Yellow is a possibility, but there's already so much yellow. Pink is going to be super distracting because there's nothing else that's pink on the model. Blue, we've already got some blues here and there. Reds, we've got reds already. Man. It's just awkward because this over here, there's nothing. Well, if we did pink on these, we could do pink on a couple of these mushrooms over here, and that would frame the face a bit. But it seems really forced. Because I want some, because if I do just pink right here, it's going to draw the eye down into here, which draws it away from the face. Because the eyes are purple, but it's not an intense enough purple to really capture the human eye if there's more purple here. If we did purple over here on these mushrooms and purple here, that would create a line for the eye to go, and the eye might be drawn in towards the eyes at that point, because we've got kind of an even pull in terms of color over here. Yeah, let's do that. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes, but I think that's probably the thing to do. Try and draw the eye in towards the center. Because what you want to do when you're especially when you're speed painting or anything like that, but in general, if you want to guide the human eye, you have to use color and color patterns and relationships between areas that are the same color to frame certain areas of the model and draw the human eye towards those areas. And the most important area is the face, is drawing attention to the miniature's face, their upper chest, and the eyes especially, because that's where the human eye wants to go naturally. So if you can guide it there, it just feels a lot more natural. Whereas if you were trying to guide it away, the human brain's going to be like, wait a minute, something feels weird. Why am I being guided over here? So you have to put a lot more effort or a lot more color intensity to draw eyes away and towards something else. And that can feel weird if you don't do it right, and that's hard to do. So if I can use purple to still do those spots, but then also help bring attention to the eyes, then that's probably the best thing to do. That's an adorable mini. Is it game for or display? I'm painting it kind of for display, but also kind of for gaming. I was asked to paint this up for a company called Miniatures by Myconid, which is here in the Portland, Oregon area, and it's not box art or anything like that. Is just like, hey, we'd love to see your take on it so we can show people what painting these is like. So that's what we're doing here. Painted with no pride colors in June. How sad. Hey, Cascaboom, how are you doing? Welcome to the Great Library. It's lovely, thank you. Yeah, this is a mossling. And it is kind of a dwarven dryad, kind of, if you think about it that way. It's dwarven because it's kind of like, smaller in stature, wider. It's a dryad because the skin's made of like wood, and their hair and fur is moss. And then we also have our little bat guy, who's the first mini we painted in him. He's doing his little jig here with his recorder. I had a lot of fun painting him. I think he's my favorite so far.
Welcome to the Great Library.
And then we have their goatkin here. We painted him up like Prepotente from Dungeon Crawler Carl. But these are the first 3 miniatures from the Wolmendoot line. And then there'll be more in the future, and I'll probably get to paint those too. Very, very... Hey, thank you so much for the hype train. And thank you for the subscription, Cascaboom. Let's make sure we get your library card updated here. And yeah, I'm not doing any pride colors because these miniatures are set up. They're supposed to be kind of a dark cottagecore kind of look. That's kind of the vibe for them. So while it's not pride colors, it's definitely not as straight coated as it might be. But let's see. Are you up here? No, you're in the box. Ow! I just hit my knuckles. Let's see, Cascaboom, do you have a library card? I think you do. Somewhere. Oh, yeah, there it is. Got it. I had to dive deep into the archives, but we preserved it. We have it. So Cascaboom, here is your library card. For those of you who don't know, over on the Purple app, we have you can subscribe and support a channel on a monthly basis or one time every month, whatever you want to do. And when you do that, you get a library card. Now, this is the old library card because it says 1 week. Cascaboom, we need to get you your new library card. The updated library card. So we shall fill out a new. Now, don't worry, you won't lose any of your progress. The library will transfer your progress from one library card to the other. But just so everybody is aware, here are the terms of the library card as it stands, the modern library card. The bearer of this card is granted permission to remove materials from the Great Library for a period of no longer than 30 days. A penalty of 1 sip of paint water will be assigned to the bearer for each piece of material that is outside of the Great Library every day beyond 30 days. The bearer assumes all responsibility for any material damage to, magical damage or mishaps associated with, and possessions or exorcisms through checked out materials. So those are the terms. And Cascaboom, let's get your name switched over here. Hey, Grey Wolf, how are you doing? Oh, Azal, where did you find a book earlier? I didn't see that. Yes, it is. Welcome. It is. It's a standard nib. It's just a standard nib. It's nothing fancy. Let me make sure that I have this correct. I'm going to make sure I spell this correctly. There we go. Make sure my nib is clean. We're going to let that dry for a second, and then we'll get you your 3-month stamp here on your new library card. Get the top back on the magical ink. Go. Okay, there, Cascaboom. There is your new library card. Good for 30 days instead of just 1 week. And here is your 3-month stamp. Look at that. Beautiful. See, I told you. Your old stamp transferred over here automatically because the library knows what it's doing. If you guys can't see anything, don't worry about it. It's a magical stamp. Can only wizards are the only ones who can see it. But if you stick around long enough, just hang out. You don't have to do anything else. If you hang out long enough, it'll fade in. You'll become familiar enough with magic just by overhearing and being in its presence that you'll be able to see the stamp as well as it grows. Oh, there you go. There is your updated stamp, Cascaboom. Thank you so much. We'll hold your old card over there for safekeeping. And if I ever run into you at a convention or something like that, or if you ever want me to mail it to you, I can do that too. Let's see. Eyes against. Okay. But what is? I just possess terrible people, like people who he calls it the. Ooh. Fun little thing. Thanks. Invisible stamp. You're a dungeon master. You're a good storyteller. I have done dungeon mastering in the past, but I've also been streaming since 2018, and this has been kind of the whole library card thing has been part of that for a few years now. We've got some people with over 74 months on their library card. So, it's been a lot of practice. And a lot of things, the library doesn't stay stagnant. It continually grows with new knowledge and new stories. So sometimes things have to alter a little bit. And you see, you said you found a book the last time you were here. Do you remember what the name of the book is? Is this the Black Library? Do I look like an Eldar? Do I look like Eldar to you? Be very careful. No, it's not the Black Library. Ours is far more important. It is the library. It's the Great Library of Magic. This is the resource for the School of Magic that is right above us, where I used to teach, but then they figured out I'm a useless wizard, so they kicked me out. But they couldn't let me go back into the real world. That would be awkward. So they sent me down here to watch over the Great Library of Magic, to act as kind of a human caretaker and to make sure students and visitors such as yourself are as safe as possible, which is not that safe, but not that unsafe. I mean, it's a magical library. Like you could find some weird stuff in here. So just be careful. You named it something Almanac. Could be Votan. Yeah, but the Votan don't have the access to the Black Library. The Black Library is exclusively a Harlequin thing for the Eldari. I don't think any self-respecting Eldari would have a beard like mine. Glorious, glorious beard. Votans, obviously. They've got some taste. Give me a second. Let me see if I can find and see if we added that as an almanac. Pretty sure I did, but I would like to make sure. I must go into the archive and check. Was it the Gulliman Sports Almanac? Complete blood sports statistics, M39 to M41? That sounds like something you might make. No, that wasn't it? I do have another almanac. Expert's Almanac of Intelligent Perspective by M.T. Head. Was that it? Is your name Rincewin? Rincewin? No. That was it? Okay, yes, it is in there. M39, that was the Blood Games where Valdor received his ranking. Ho-ho! Bet you people wish they had this back in M38 or before the Blood Games in M39. Although if they knew about it and they knew people were betting on it, that'd be like betting on the death of the Emperor. That could be bad. So we just leave it. Just leave it where it is. Isn't every color pride color because it's a rainbow? I mean, kind of, but magenta doesn't exist in the rainbow. Magenta is actually not a real color. There is no wave of light that is magenta colored. Magenta is actually the activation of two cones in your eyes that have a third cone in between, but the light rays that hit those two cones don't cross into that third cone, so your brain invents magenta because it's like it's a mental construct. Magenta is a mental construct. It doesn't actually exist. It's magic. It's true magic. Not so useless wizard after all. That's rad as hell. Thank you. There is magic within color theory and the colors out there. Yeah, go look up. There's a really good video by a really good guy who does a lot of color theory and color science. Look up videos on magenta is not a real color. I'm just blind this dude, but oh, don't say that. That's not nice. That's not nice to yourself. You're not stupid. I don't know if you're blind, but I'm pretty sure you're not stupid. You might be blind. Yeah, might be colorblind. That could be my dad's colorblind. He's a very intelligent guy. One of the smartest people I know. Taught himself all kinds of stuff just by sitting down and researching the ever-living bejesus out of it and becoming an expert. But he is red-green colorblind. Pretty strongly red-green colorblind. That's why magenta looks so trippy. Yeah, because it's not actual, like there's no actual magenta light wave. You cannot mix magenta. There's nothing you can do to mix magenta. You can mix pinks, you can mix fuchsias, things like that, but magenta itself is not a mixable color. He's lying to y'all. The man can paint. Hey. Oh, there's colorblind painters who paint a lot by vibes and value. Oh, there's definitely nothing. Being colorblind definitely can make certain aspects of painting difficult. But then, you find ways to adapt. Like, did you guys ever hear or see the episode of Bob Ross where someone wrote in that he loves watching Bob Ross, but he could never paint because he's completely colorblind. He can't see any color at all. And so Bob Ross on the next episode painted a painting entirely in black and white and just showed people, hey, you can paint in black and white too. So you can paint with values, and if there are certain colors that you can see, you can just stick to those. You can also just kind of learn the subtle differences between them that you may not be able to really know what they look like, but you can see, yeah, that's probably red. There are ways to get around it, but it is certainly not easy. It is certainly not easy. Gus, the regular guy, what you said, Rincewood, that's the Terry Pratchett, the Discworld character who, like, wizard who's in charge of the magical library there, right? Is it bad that I say I've never actually read those? No, I probably should. I hear that they are classics, but I have never actually read those specific books.
A wizard is never
Oh!
late, Frodo Baggins. Nor is he early. He arrives
Precisely what it means, too. Ghoul Studio, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome on in. You got me. You got me early this time. Well done. How's it going? I've just finished the first book literally today. Oh, nice. How was it? Welcome on in, Ghoul Studio. Welcome on in, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. I got to adjust the focus once again. Thank you all for being here. Raid Shadow Legends. Oh, I remember that when that was on every channel, regardless of whether it was miniatures or it was on just Twitch channels or anything. It was like Raid Shadow Legends. Like you could make $1,500 by just doing a short Raid Shadow Legends thing. And I don't mind. I don't blame for people for getting their bag, but Jesus, they were everywhere. Oh, I have a negative reaction to Raid Shadow Legends now. Whenever I see it, it's just like, no, bleh. Not a fan. Not a fan. Couldn't resist. That's fine. They sure had a marketing budget. They did for certain. Let's snooze the ads here real quick just to make sure we don't get slammed here. Ghoul Studio, what were you working on? Oh no, I broke the friendly wizard. Nah, we're good. He's not a librarian. He got kicked out of the wizarding school because he snuck into the restricted area of the school and learned one of the 8 world-breaking curses. Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't do that. I'm just a useless wizard. Which also replaced all of the magical... Oh, that's a problem. So maybe he was a useless wizard after all. He was just like... Well, not useless, just like a one-time bomb. Yeah, I'm just a useless wizard, so... We're not the same. You working on the bust of Nyx today? Yeah, excellent. How's that going? That's a beautiful piece. From what I saw from like I think last week when I dropped by, it looks great. It looks very, very nice. I've got a couple busts that I need to get. I've got a couple Trench Crusade busts and some other busts that I picked up at Adepticon that I need to work on. I'm trying to work through like a lot of my backlog from this last Adepticon and the Adepticon before that, and busts just take so long to paint for me. I'm worried that it's just going to eat up too much time. It was a trip for sure. I'm sure you'd like it. Going to get the second book from my coworker. Nice. Your co-wormer? Wow, I see how you feel about your co-workers. Well, welcome on in, everybody. For those of you who are new here, my name is Ryan. I'm the Useless Wizard. Welcome to my study here in the Great Library of Magic. I got stuck down here because I was a useless wizard, so I was kicked out of the Wizard School of Magic. I could no longer teach there because they didn't think I should teach. So, go figure. But they sent me down here into the Great Library to watch over the Great Library and keep guests such as yourself and students out of trouble as much as possible. And I do an okay job of that. But now we're here after hours, here in my study, sitting next to the fire with my beloved grandfather clocks and the sound of books in the background, painting up this miniature. This is a mossling. This is a kind of a dwarven, like a mix between a dwarf and a dryad. If you're familiar with Dolanwood, the RPG Dolanwood, this is modeled after one of those races, but this is for a line of miniatures called the Wolmendoot. line of miniatures. So this is the Mossling. And then we've also painted the Goatkin here. And we modeled painting him off of Prepotente from Dungeon Crawler Carl. So if he looks familiar, that's probably why. And then the first mini we did was the Bat Guy. Happy little bat dude. I think this is my favorite. He's adorable. He was a lot of fun to paint, and he's got his little recorder and he's just dancing and being happy on the side of the road. So these are all miniatures from Miniatures by Myconid, or Myconid Miniatures. Again, called Wolmendoot. It's the new line. We are doing a giveaway for a set of these at the end of this month through our Discord. If you're interested in that, hop into the Discord between now and the end of the month and indicate your interest in the Wolmendoot giveaway channel. But we're just about to call the Mossling done. He's basically finished. And then we'll get some pictures of him and throw a video up on TikTok and put some pictures of him up on Instagram. Yeah. Wanted to make sure I got these done before having to leave for Origins Game Fair next week. As I am teaching some classes there, but I'll be there all week, so there won't be any streams next week. Just wanted to make sure I got these guys done by then. And yeah, these have been a lot of fun. These are really cool. And this is very kind of close to my heart just because Miniatures by Myconid is here in the Portland, Oregon area. So they're a local company that I've met a few times, and they reached out to me and asked if I wanted to paint up some new models that they're putting out. So for me, this was very, very cool, a very cool opportunity, and they'll probably do more Wolmendoot minis in the future. So fantastic work. Really loving the vibe of all of them. Yeah, thanks. The whole thing is very like kind of like dark fantasy cottagecore, and that's kind of the color palette we've tried to stick with. A lot of earth tones, a lot of more naturalistic tones for them without going super bright and oversaturated. And I think we did a pretty decent job of it. It's definitely not dark, like grim dark. Some people who have also painted these up for the company have gone very grim dark type of fantasy, dark fantasy, grim dark type of paint scheme. So I definitely went a different direction with that. So that should be useful for them to show the different ways that these minis can be painted and still get that the type of vibe they're going for. And I've had a blast painting these. These have been really, really cool. We've been painting lots of smaller games and smaller companies stuff lately, and we've still got more to do. But this was a really cool opportunity, especially for a local company. It makes me very, very happy to support local companies here in the Portland, Oregon area. And so now we'll wait for that rim to dry and do another coat, and then we'll get him varnished, and then we'll get some pictures. But yeah, so we're going to set him over here to the side. We're going to set these guys over to the side. Let's take a look at some of the other stuff that we've been painting. So the mini we painted just before this is this Brute from 1490 Doom. He was a lot of fun, especially his striped pants. So I picked this mini up at Adepticon. And like I said, we've been focusing a lot on smaller companies, miniatures lately, just so that we can get through them, because I tend to pick up a lot of small companies miniatures. So we worked on this guy, and he was a lot of fun. Very cool. And then before that, we painted this. This is not from a small company. This is from Corvus Belli, but it is from their fantasy game called Warcrow. And this is a miniature I picked up at Adepticon, and definitely did not have a particular person in mind when I was painting him. No siree, not even a little bit. Go to lurk and find some food. Have a wonderful stream, Wizards. Thank you, Ghoul Studios. I appreciate you. Absolutely. It makes sense. It always is nice to see a variety of paint jobs and minis for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, so this was the War Augur we painted. Very happy with him. I'm going to snooze the break here because we're probably going to raid out here in just a second. And then, let's see. Ooh! Jim Raynor from the for StarCraft and Miniatures game. We painted him up recently, too. Had a lot of fun with him. He's very, very cool. They did a really good job with these miniatures for the StarCraft Minis game. They've done a really, really good job with these, so this was a lot of fun. And definitely made my child self very happy to paint something up for StarCraft. We do have Kerrigan. We're going to be painting her up soon as well. I'm very excited about painting Kerrigan. It's one of my favorite characters in StarCraft. So yeah, that's what we've been working on a lot lately, is a lot of smaller stuff. But we also do Space Marines. This is a Death Watch Marine that I painted. I don't play Warhammer anymore, unless it's the smaller games. But I don't really paint Warhammer anymore. Play Warhammer, but we still paint lots of it because I love the aesthetics of it. And then I'm also working on Rainbow Warriors project, painting one of every a lieutenant in every mark of armor that Space Marines have been found in. So we're working on this guy as well. Might try a combat patrol game someday soon. I was thinking that as well because I've got a bunch of Vestroyans that I picked up from a friend. So a bunch of the kind of the semi-Russian, like super fancy Cossack Russian type of Imperial Guard that are all metal models. The problem is no one in my area plays Combat Patrol because it's not very well balanced. They usually play Colosseum, which I think is a fan-made small scale game that is like in around Colosseum, but it's an equivalent size to Combat Patrol, so I think you use Combat Patrols or something equivalent to them, but the lists are better balanced, I guess. So I don't know. I was also thinking about doing one-page rules with those guys. So here is the first Rainbow Warrior Lieutenant that I did. The Primaris Marine in his Mark 10 armor. And then we've also got Mark 4. With their prismatic swords. And I've got Mark 2 here. And I'm working on Mark 3. And I've got all the others put together and base coded. I just don't have them. They're just not done yet. So we're still working on all those. So yeah, we're going to have one of a lieutenant of every mark of armor. Why are they called Rainbow Warriors? Because that's their chapter. That's their chapter name. So the Rainbow Warriors were one of the 12 original Space Marine chapters shown in the original Warhammer 40,000 rulebook from 1987. Now, they did. This was before 40K had the idea of founding chapters and successor chapters. All they stated was there are 1,000 chapters of Space Marines. Here's 12 as examples. They included the Ultramarines, the Blood Angels, the Flesh Terrors, the Silver Skulls, the Iron Hands, the Space Wolves, the Blood Drinkers, the Rainbow Warriors, the Raven Guard. Was it the Raven Guard? No, there's the Iron Hands. I'll have to get the list. Do I have the book near me? I don't have the book near me, but there were 12, I think it's 11 or 12 example chapters given, and the Rainbow Warriors are one of those. Now, that's the only time up until between that edition and 8th edition. In between there's the Rainbow Warriors are never talked about again. But then in the 8th edition, the Rainbow Warriors are mentioned as having taken place in several crusades. And on all of the Imperial maps, the world of Prism was either Prism, redacted or labeled as deleted without the name Prism there. But the chapter symbol of the Rainbow Warriors, this winged lightning bolt, was still there on the Imperial map of the galaxy. So we don't know what happened to them. In reality, they were most likely just a political stand by Games Workshop, because there was a Greenpeace ship called the Rainbow Warrior that was torpedoed by the French government, and a member of Greenpeace died in that torpedo. One of the photographers was killed by that torpedoing while they were at dock, I believe. I don't think they were actually out to sea. They were docked, and the French government torpedoed them. And so it's most likely a tribute to that ship. And since then, they just haven't been included up until 8th edition. Now, here and there, they are mentioned. Prism is obviously on the maps. 8th edition, they mention the Rainbow Warriors. There are a couple short stories that mention Rainbow Warriors by name. And there's also War in the Museum. The short story War in the Museum describes a Rainbow Warrior, but does not name them. That is my understanding. They were docked. Yeah, and if you want to know more about them, go check out Rogue Hobby's YouTube channel. Her very first video from a couple years ago is all about the Rainbow Warriors, because she used to work for Games Workshop, and she's painted up the McFarlane Marines as Rainbow Warriors. She gave me the idea to paint up a Chibi Marine as Rainbow Warriors. She did that, and this is the paint scheme that she came up with for them. And so even before that, I liked the Rainbow Warriors because they were kind of a funny chapter, funny named chapter, and I liked that. So I also painted up this Ducky Space Marine as a Rainbow Warrior. But yeah, definitely, if you're interested in knowing more about like the history that we do have about them, check out Rogue Hobby's YouTube channel. It's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool. There's hey, Tonclicks, have a fantastic rest of your night. Thanks for being here. They've got kind of a cult following, kind of a cult classic following. But yeah. Okay, well, we've got 4 minutes before I'm forced to do a break, so we're going to go find someone to raid and pass all the hobby love on to. So thank you all for being here tonight. I very much appreciate it. We have had a very productive night. Let's go. We have not raided JT in forever. We have not raided JT in a very long time. So we're going to go raid JT Stark. He's a fantastic painter, a really cool guy up in Canada. Make sure you give him all the hobby love. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the resubs and the subs. I'll get pictures up on Instagram of this guy and the Goatkin. I've already got pictures of the bad guy up. Also get pictures. I'll actually put pictures in the Discord as well. This Friday we have our community spotlight. So if you have anything you've been working on that you want to show off on Friday, hop into the Discord, post your stuff in the works in progress or the completed projects area, and we'll take a look at it on Friday. But until then, thank you once again for all being here. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday night. Do the thing that keeps you sane. And until next time, remember that painting is good for the soul. Have a good night, everybody.